dress code, not talking to the opposite gender, uh, rules, and it all results in a society where people actually can have more intimacy in a sustainable way, not just an exciting quick fling which appeases the biological urge for novelty, but rather a consistent, loving person who you end up having more sex with because you're always with them. As long as you maintain your health and you have a matching libido, like you want to have sex at the same frequency, be it once a day or once a week or otherwise. When you put all that together, you get a society that's as oriented around family. And when you really have solid families together, guess what happens? They can look after the children so the other couples can have romantic fun and adult fun and also intimacy. And so that's the magic of life, and it's a possibility. It would be a more heavenly place where even on earth, so you can't have heaven without you can't have the good without the bad, the potential for bad. You wouldn't know what it means to feel good unless you know what it means to feel bad and the dangers of conflicts. And we've gone through that in humanity. But it's gotten to a point where we're smart enough and educated enough, and we also have the tools. So I'm going to go through 10 ways to make that easy. This is a presentation that can be, parts of it can be used as talking points to challenge people in everyday life if they question you as whatever religion you are, and it's important to realize that religions are essentially trying to do that. When somebody says they're Muslim or they're Christian or they're deeply spiritual, you expect them to have the more exercise over their self-control and managing their desires, and also respecting other people and not trying to seduce them for some superficial hedonistic pleasure, but rather being oriented around their principles and knowing what they want and wanting a stable life and wanting that to manifest in society with themselves and others. So point number one, and a lot of these you probably have never heard of. So even though this is not specifically religious, it's using one aspect of religion that's supposed to be. And so we'll start off with number one, which is to write your future spouse or write a daily email so that you have a regular understanding of this is what my life's going to be like. This is who I'm living for. When you say what would Jesus do? Well, this is what would your spouse want you to do? Your future spouse, right? What do they want for you? I would say they want you to pursue certain hobbies and interests and values that you would want to live and work on together. And so anything beyond that, when you start thinking of like kind of mindlessly thinking like, oh, well, what would somebody want? Random people that you're physically attracted to, well, you just end up spending time, money, or energy, or even just trying to look attractive to impress them. And the word impress really translates to the word seduce. So that's why you've got to start off with a daily relationship with your future spouse. Make it about them. Everything from when you're saving money, hey, look, I saved this, I made this today, it was for us. And And what's another point? Point 2 is to make sure that you are wearing a purity ring. Now, this allows you to go around, and it's a talking conversation starter, but to a wholesome conversation, like I'm committed to my future spouse. It's your active commitment. You can also wear I like to wear like a keychain doll of my future spouse. This allows me to make it about her, and when the times are hard, remember that you're doing things for her. Like you may be doing a job you don't like, but the money, what you're doing, but the person who's hiring you or the customers, they're happy with the product or service, right? So you're doing that. That's good, and then you're doing it for your future spouse. So wearing that wedding band and having those physical reminders, that keychain doll, it's all, or maybe a picture of somebody who is similar to who you think would be your future spouse, right, on your phone screensaver. All these add up to, and then some daily affirmations, like maybe you have a written statement, say I love my future wife, and it just creates this energy of love. And here's something else you might not have considered, is that your future wife or husband is going to be like one real single. So you should have a sense of who they are. You should have a list that you glance at every day, and it says things like you absolutely expect this and you absolutely do not want this, like no smoking, maybe pets, no pets. I don't like pets myself because I worship Goddess V, so that means I'm only interested in the woman and her vulva, and I don't know why people are into pets. But I want to give her massages. I don't want to be massaging a pet, you know what I mean? And so you have that. You have that list, and that list should be specific, not too specific, obviously, because then it'll be restrictive. Like if you want somebody who's exactly this, but it should be specific in ways that you absolutely are sure that this is how it has to be. And it should include things like same interests, same values, same preferences for food and music, or at least similar. Maybe I think food's really a critical one, and exercise, because that determines how the longevity of your lifespans, which should be correlated. Like ask your buddies, what do they like? What are they into? And so okay, so that's the list, and the list should also have, like, if you're really specific to one ethnicity, then write it down, and you should also be considerate of that. The person, if you're planning to have children, the person, especially the woman, has to be of a genetic, she should have certain, like maybe wide hips, just certain information that ensures that that person will have a healthy pregnancy, right? And okay, so point 4 is the list. Point 3 is, pardon me, it's a lot of information. Okay, so let's go to 5. Is that self-intimacy allows you to manage that energy. In that low frequency of the enjoyment of having sex with yourself, both men and women. Men can use a quote-unquote pocket pussy, aka a personal stroker, I recommend the Doc Johnson Celebrity. It's called. There's a special line where it's okay. Navigating. Okay, so navigating. Okay. And then women should use dildos. It shouldn't be all reliant upon the man to say, "Oh, this is, your whole life revolves around a man." And even though obviously you should choose a husband that it's, someone that want your life to be about. You want to be like the secretary. You want to be like the person who helps with the money. Well, you want to be, you want to be. You want to be in the spirit of love, but you can only be in the spirit of love and love someone if you're already in the spirit of love, and then that person's at that same vibration. That's why it's so important to know what you want, because if you do not know what you want, what ends up occurring is that you get controlled by people who they whoa. Oh, you classic. Oh, that's funny. It's funny. When you don't want to be treated like a dignified royal person, then you're gonna get subject to poor treatment. That's why, and I'll submit to you. It's important for people to be honest. Like I'm being honest, and my honesty is that I used to be a gay prostitute, and not because I was gay, but because I hated myself, had low self-esteem. The reason I had low self-esteem was because I referred to people as a mother and father, and not only were they people I didn't like and didn't like their values, but just the very act of an adult, especially adult man, labeling somebody his mother or father, it makes him internally resentful. You'll notice that the men who are most into the and always being a mommy's boy, they consciously take out the resentment of like of that authority. They take it out on they take it out on people. Like they take it out on, they'll say, "Oh, mother love mother, da da da," and then on the same tangent, they'll be seducing women and treating them not as love in a loving way, because they're not into it. So right, all that being said, I need to stay on the train of focus here. That's already 5 points. So what would be a 6th point about how do you easily avoid? Part of it is how you approach a room. You want to approach a room with a loving energy, like I want people, the best for people. I want them to have a loving spouse. I want, and you just look at people, and you may be able to admire people, like that you're physically attracted to, but at the same time you want them to be happy, and you want all people to. It's a paradox. It's a paradox that people seduce people they don't care about. What that means is people want to have sex with people they don't care about, just straight to sex and no marriage. So it's like, what do you prefer more, sex or marriage? What's more important to you? And the irony is, it's things like sex and dating that is what shows people that you're together. The marriage ceremony and having the last name is kind of a personal, private thing that not everyone sees. But that's why dating should only occur between married couples, because you're out in public showing who you are. Okay, point 7 is you want to show, how you label yourself. You want to label yourself not as single. You want to label yourself as preparing. I'm not single. I'm preparing for my future spouse. So I'm also not available. I'm preparing. And then when you're available, then you make it pretty clear that yes, I'm actively looking for my future spouse. So that's a good one for, what was it, point 6? So point 6, label yourself as unavailable, preparing for a future spouse. Most people have this simple logic that you have to, that while you're getting ready for your spouse, you should be having sex with other people, which is not only unloving and keeps you away from the energy of love, because you can't be in the energy of love when you're seducing people and try to not get emotionally attached to people but only have sex with them. It doesn't add up mathematically. All right, so point 7, easy ways to get around the whole spouse thing. Excuse me. He'll make it easy to avoid premarital intimacy. This one is going to be about identifying people. So, am I going for it? Yes, I'm going for it. Yes, sir. Okay, so you want to identify people, right? Like that person is marriage oriented, and this kind of brings me back to the whole religious idea. Like, if somebody says they're Christian, but are they avoiding premarital intimacy? Do they go to a church where the people in the church authorities, the responsible ones, do they allow people who have sex outside of marriage to be in the church? Part of this is about accountability. That's the benefit of the Mormon community. They have everyone's name written in an official group, or official what's the word, written, it's an official group of people. And so that's what we need from our own individual churches or mosques or temples or whatever. Even if you just have a spiritual get-together or group where you meet every week, or you go to the same restaurant, whatever you do, all those people should be able to be trusting towards each other, or Right. So that's good. That's like 7 solid points. I'm feeling good about myself on that. Like identifying people, like saying, is this person, what do they want? What's their energy? Like, that's a good one. Okay, so okay, so yeah, I think that's enough like ideas for now, and I want to get 3 more in, but I've got to take care of some business transactions here. So let me get into that, and then I'll and then we'll talk more. I think 7 is plenty of good ideas. So yeah, let's whew, right. Let's talk more, you guys. That was a lot of fun. Oh, let's talk more. Aloha.